So welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Aaron.
Hello.
Welcome to Conscious Corner podcast. We're really excited to have you and not only have you here, but to be our very first guest on our podcast. So an extra special welcome to Aaron.
That special. Yeah.
It's
Welcome,
truly an
welcome.
honor. When I heard you guys were doing this, I was like, wow, what a dynamic duo to be putting this thing out there. The content you guys are going to create, I'm excited for it. So thanks for having me.
Sure, of
Our
course.
pleasure. So I'll just give the listeners a brief introduction and then we'll let you kind of take us more into who you are and all the great stuff that you're doing. But just to give listeners insight here, Aaron Salko is the founder and creator of the 9th Stratum. He is a sales management professional who has a demonstrated history of talent development, innovation, creativity, and organizational growth. For more than 2 decades, he has focused on human performance in both career and life in a highly competitive, entrepreneurial-based global sales environment with an intense concentration in exploring how the science and mechanisms of human biology, psychology, social interaction, and human physiology apply to performance. His life's desire is to help individuals attain their highest levels of performance in order to achieve success in their career and find purpose and fulfillment in life. His new book is The 9th Stratum, Your Guide to High Performance. And we'll talk more at the end of the ways in which you can learn more about 9th Stratum and Aaron. But Aaron, let's just begin by allowing you some time to let listeners get a better understanding of your personal and professional background that drove you to develop 9th Stratum.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Like many of us, we've gone down different roads in life and we either went left or we went right. When I got out of high school and went to college, I was very driven to pursue biology, human physiology. I'd always been fascinated with the human body and how we can achieve different levels of performance. I played sports all my life. And I went to school for physical therapy. And when I got out, the market was kind of crushed. And somebody said to me, hey, at some point in time, you're going to make X. And I said, wow, at some point in time, I've got all these student loan debts. And
Feel you
how
on
do we
that.
make that speed up a little bit? And so, you know, my buddy who was working for this global entrepreneurial-based sales organization said, hey, you should check this out. And I think I had like one credit that even applied to this new career. But I love interacting with people. I love helping people. And I grew up in the restaurant business. My mom was an educator and a chef. My dad was a psychologist. So he played a lot of Jedi mind games on us in the house as kids. But basically, I jumped into this job and called my mom and said, hey, Ma, you know all those years of college I went through? I'm going to go sell packaging. And she was like, what? Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And so I dove into this career and, I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about global packaging or global supply chain, sitting in meetings with C-suite executives. It was just a different type of environment for me. And so I did what I always did. I dove into books. I sought coaching and I sought out the high performers in that profession to get get insight and learn and then begin to apply what I had learned in order to be successful. And I got really good at it. I really enjoyed the job. I was really good at the job. And, I progressed through to sales management where my sphere of influence continued to grow. And, one day in my early 30s, somebody called me a high performer. And I was like, wow, yes, like there it is, the acknowledgement we always want. And then I began to internalize that. I said, wow, what does that really mean? You know, who's the governing body of high performance? What criteria did this person use to to define me as a high performer. And, did this person just set me up for failure? Because now I think I've arrived. Now I think I've attained a level of performance where I don't need or can't get any better. And that was the moment where I said, you know what? This term, high performance or high performer, is used too loosely. It's too subjective, and it's very elusive to those who want to attain it. And that was the day I began my journey to really dive into what is high performance and define it, build tools and strategies to measure it, and then build a pathway so that others could achieve it.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I didn't know that about your father. I knew the story or the history with your mom, and I didn't know that about your dad. So that's really interesting. So in
Yes,
terms,
real quick, just to say one thing,
yeah.
it's interesting you talk about school and like that you came out doing nothing like you had, intended to, right? So did I. And it's like people forget, like when you don't really come out, typically, I don't know what the percentages are, but you don't really come out of school as like, I studied archaeologist and now I'm an archaeology and now I'm an archaeologist, right? Like,
Right.
of course, I graduated in 2000 and I went out and got in sales. It had nothing to do with my communications degree, but at the same time, it had everything to do with it, right? Like you learned and became Aaron through those classes and going and time management and all the things you learned to form you. And it's like, I'm such a pro education person that it's like so easy to forget like all that money, all that time. And am I really applying it? But you are, right? And the
Yeah.
way
And
you became a high performer was very much having to do with what you had experienced through school.
Annie, it's amazing, like the compilation of all the experience, all the learning, all the shitty jobs we had, right? Throughout our careers. And then we get to this point where we're like, oh, it all makes sense. Like there's a reason I studied biology. I'm using psychology to my advantage. There's a reason I was in the restaurant business and I was able to engage people and get people to like me as a waiter. So yeah, and sports teaches us a lot too.
Just wanted to make that, chat about that for a second.
I love that. I love that. I kind of steered off. Well, I don't know if it's steering off, but I gave my parents a heart attack. I graduated from Penn and decided to be a photographer. So all those loans, it didn't
They
land.
definitely had a heart attack then. No offense to photographers.
But it's all come full circle, and I still use it in many ways.
But you do have that creative side of you, which is so important, and you
I
use that all
do.
the time.
I do, and I need that to balance out sort of the more intellectual end of things. So it's the yin and the yang. It all comes together in one way or another. But help us understand. So I know we've heard a lot about high performance, and obviously you hear it in the sports sector, and you hear it in the physical sector professionally. But in terms of what high performer means in the sense of 9th Stratum, can you define that for us?
Yeah, part of my journey was, we had to define what high performance really was. And you won't find it in the Webster's dictionary, but we've defined it as high performance is the daily pursuit of excellence in all aspects of work and life that ultimately result in continuous goal achievement and sustained personal success. And that word sustained is important. It requires the consistent day after day improvement of personal performance, driven by the desire to advance the skills, knowledge, and behaviors. And so like that was like the essence of what we felt high performance is and was. And the 9th stratum, there's the 9 stratums of learning and application, 9 stratums of performance. At that 9th stratum, that is the stratum of high performers. And that's where we see these people who are very good and consistent at specific skills. We're not just talking about career skills, we're talking about society deemed soft skills, which I hate that word.
And we talked about that. I do not like soft skills either.
Yeah, well, we've recoined that phrase. We call them the performance-based skills. And so, what we see in these high performers are, they're extremely consistent and competent in these skills. They know how to use them strategically, and they've developed their own process for them. So they're very mentally in tune with, how do I use this skill? When do I use this skill? When did I not use this skill? Self-reflection is big. And so that 9th stratum level is where they begin to teach others that skill. So 8th stratum, yeah, you're high performing in the 8th stratum, but 9th stratum is when you actually can teach.
You bring up a really good word that I think is super important when it comes to what Courtney and I do too, which is it's important with almost everything, but your consistency and just, the repetition and building that muscle. That's what I call it in coaching. Like, it's really important that you're just not going to get the results you want unless you're consistent. You just can't walk in and pretty much can't be just like a high performer and do all the, those people worked, they put in, they put in the time to consistently, do those things to make that muscle stronger. And like you said, that sustained, I love the definition that you used of what it means to be a high performer, because I never really thought of it like that.
Yeah, and that really resonated with me as well, just in terms of mindfulness. It's about the regularity of practice. You can't just, when we talk about muscle, I know we've used the gym example, and Aaron, this may really drive home the idea for you, but you can't just here and there go into the gym and do a few sets or a couple reps and then leave and think, okay, the bicep muscle is going to be stronger. It's more about sustainability and consistency, and that's how we strengthen the muscle of the mind, with mindfulness and with coaching, with regularity of consistently doing the things that are going to help you optimize your performance both in your personal and professional lives. So that's
it almost feels like it's high performance practice. Like that's the like a constant practicing to be the best you, which so intersects with what I do too. It's just like using authenticity to be the best version of you. It's interesting how, I mean, we knew that they all intersected, but
yeah. And Annie, if you look at high performers, they've never arrived. They're always looking to say, like, okay, how, I did this, I accomplished this. How can I do it better next time? How do I get to that next level, right? They're always in search of being better than they were yesterday. And that's a big humility skill when it comes to high performers. They're not sitting there going, I'm the best at this. They're saying, I'm just as good as I was yesterday. So now I got to be better.
Do better. So interesting. So I have this breath framework that I created for coaching, and H, it's an acronym. H stands for heal. And a lot of people ask me, is it healed? And I said, no, it's actually heal or healing, because it's constant. And it's a muscle that it's just like, how can I do better? I don't know that people are ever healed. It's a constant healing. So it's funny that you said that. It's like you're in the present, you're getting better every day, you're healing. Just thought that was interesting.
Love that.
Yeah, and I would look at it as like learning, constantly learning and growing, and then you're growing stronger. So Aaron, how would that differ if someone's a high performer? How does that differ from someone who is a low or say mediocre performer?
That question's got a lot of baggage to it, but let's see if we can break it down. So I believe, and we've proven, that anybody can be a high performer. But there's two things that I can't give anybody, our parents can't give us, and these two things are imperative: drive and effort. I'm sorry, desire and effort. You have to desire to improve yourself. And then you've got to take the steps with consistency, Annie, to get to that next level, right? And so when we look at low performers and mediocre performers, by the way, during all this research that we've done for these 45 performance-based skills, the low performers were the ones that taught us the most. They were the best because, it's easy to look at, the elites, the business moguls, and say, okay, this is their routine. This is how they did it. And everybody, go do this because I did it. Where you really begin to see the deficiencies in specific skills is when somebody failed. That failure, those deficiencies really present themselves well when it comes to low performance. And so we began to see all these skills come to light as we began to study low performers. And so the low performers really they're not broken, they're just deficient in specific performance-based skills. And there are performance-based skills that are specific to every career, but then there's also performance-based skills that are specific to life. And so that's where that differentiation comes into play. But again, I truly believe, and we've proved it out, that everybody can be a high performer if they have desire and effort.
I love the failure piece that you brought in. And, because when people talk about how they failed, it's like, that's how I do what I do, and that's how I've become the best version of me is from my failures. It's not from the things I do great. It's because I've stumbled and I've fallen, and, those were my deficiencies, and I can continue to do better. But I have a question for you. Where does grit fall between desire and effort? Is that in effort? Because grit is like a super important word to me.
So there's 45 performance-based skills, right? And so grit is one of these blanket attributes, if you will. Grit encompasses perseverance. It encompasses drive, focus, like all these other skills that you can improve upon really equal grit. And so, and we see a lot of that. There are these things we call power clusters, where you have a bunch of skills that work together to raise another important skill. But yeah, I love grit. I think it's something to be admired. When we developed these 45 performance-based skills, the criteria we used was they had to be taught, learned, applied, and improved upon. And when you think about grit, can you teach grit? Probably not. But can you teach drive? Can you teach focus? Can you teach perseverance? Yes, we've broken those down where we know that there are processes to these skills that can be taught. So you can attain grit by just working on specific
As a
skills.
Philly girl, that's a big thing here, like we got some grit. So that's a big word for me.
And I have a different grit. I'm also letting the Philly in me come out, but the gritty, like you can learn the gritty dance too. I've learned that from my 10-year-old. So lots of grit going on.
Yeah, love grit. It's true. You can't be taught. You have it.
Yeah.
Or you don't. You can't. I don't think someone becomes like gritty. It's like I came out gritty. Like it's just, it's like that's who I am. So
yeah. And Court, just to like to cap it off, like, when you look at low performers, the 9 stratums of performance, the first and second stratum are really where these people may exist and they can move forward. But like the first stratum is you're just unaware of the skill. So you might just be doing it out of a behavior, right?
Yeah.
And then the second stratum is you're aware, but you're just unconcerned. Like, I don't need composure. I'll just flap the handle whenever I want.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's coming to mind, and this may be, I think it's sort of in alignment with what you're saying, but if there's a sense of curiosity, like someone who is, not yet a top performer, but if they have that sense of curiosity, it's sort of in the mindfulness world, what we call a beginner's mind. And that's a great place to begin. We talk about beginner's mind, and then there's the expert. And in this case, maybe the expert would be considered like someone who's attained, they're the high performer, they're in the 9th stratum. But we can almost learn so much more from the beginner's mind, the person who's sort of lower on the totem pole, because there's a well-known Zen meditation teacher by the name of Suzuki Roshi, who said that in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert, there are few. Now, not so much in like what you're saying, with high performers, a lot of time, it's like, okay, there's not the 9th stratum, there's like the 19th stratum, but what's really interesting about some of the people who are in the lower stratum area, if there's that curiosity and they're really willing to put in the time to learn, these qualities from you, well, there's just so much, there's endless possibility and potential. So that's what's coming up for me. It makes me excited for people who maybe aren't at the 7th or 8th, but how much great potential there is, even when you're sort of in the first or the second.
Yeah, of course, there's so much overlap. You just pointed it out, like that beginner's mind really begins in our system is the third stratum when somebody says, hey, you really need to work on your composure because it's affecting your performance. And that person goes, oh boy, that's like their aha moment. I better fix
Yeah.
this. And that beginner's mind then takes off at the fourth stratum when they begin to seek the tools, the resources, the coaches, and they're seeking knowledge. And then fifth stratum, they attain the knowledge because they're reading, they're reading the books, they're working with the coach, they're watching the videos, right?
Right,
And then
right.
they finally put boots on the ground.
You guys want to hear something super interesting?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to like, there's nothing wrong with what you said. I totally understand and agree. But I coach really high level executives, senior VPs and C-suite execs. And I have to tell you, I'm real big into character strengths and core values. It's two of the things I really focus on. It helps me to delve into who they are and their best selves in coaching. And there is one single value that most of them need to learn, and it's curiosity.
Oh,
These
yeah.
high level, high performing, they make good money, they have climbed up the ladder, they are well educated. I mean, some of them are brilliant people, but I have to stop them, tap the brakes, and tell them to come back for a minute and just let's get curious here. That's, I think, one of the first things that goes when you get into your mode.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the first things you use to get up the ladder.
But then when you're up there, you forget.
When you're up there, you're like, I don't need to work.
I don't need to like when you're leading, right? Instead of I'm delegating this to you, get this done. That's not the kind of leader I am. The kind of leader I am is to say, and I teach leadership, right? Development. So is to say, like, let's look at the timeline. What would you do here? So like adding that curious piece, like talk to me about how your mind works. Isn't that going to teach somebody so much better than just do this and go?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, using that curiosity piece is super important.
And that's why curiosity is a performance-based skill.
Yay, I get it.
Well, that's a great way to segue into my next question, because we're talking about all of these skills that we can really enhance. But can you tell us some more about what exactly the performance-based skills in your program are, other than
Sure.
curiosity?
Yeah, sure. As we looked at, the elites and we looked at the low performers, like this big list came, and then we looked at it and said, wait, there's categories here. We actually see like live categories, and the categories are mentality, cognitive ability, mastery of emotion, social interaction, and the one that everybody forgets about. I've done workshops on this, and I go, what's the fifth category? And they go, I don't know, personal health, right? We all forget about personal
thing
health.
that people forget.
And personal health, part of that is mental well-being, what you guys, talk about a lot. But, so we have these 5 categories, and within those categories, you've got 45 performance-based skills. And some of the no skill is more important than others, but some that are recognizable and used most often are, work ethic, humility, curiosity, confidence. You can go with decisiveness and perceptiveness. Focus is big. Visionary thinking is one. You can teach visionary thinking, no kidding. Patience, composure, emotional self-awareness, and self-regulation, and then always optimism. So, and then you get into that personal health, and you've got your personal appearance, your sleep quality, your purposeful nutrition, and your physical activity, and your mental well-being.
Awesome. Well, it's easy to see the intersection between coaching and mindfulness and what it is you're looking to help others achieve with the 9th Stratum. I know that in terms of mindfulness, just the awareness piece, like being able to strengthen our ability to see and to recognize that, hey, I have all this going on, but oh yeah, what about this health piece? Which if we're not in a healthy place physically, mentally, emotionally, then we can't really enhance any of the other pieces. But just from a coaching standpoint, wanted to explore that a little bit more, because you make it look easy. I've known you for a long time. I know how regimented for years you've been with your health regimen and your work ethic. Like, it seems to come pretty naturally to you. And I don't know if that's just because it's sort of your DNA, it's your hardwiring. But I've really admired your consistency for probably close to 30 years since we've met. And I know, I mean, I'm part of like the 4:30 a.m. crew like you. We just have to hit up Mark Wahlberg one of these days to work out with us. But in the meantime, how can like I don't want to say the average, but someone who maybe this is not their hard wiring. They don't, they don't naturally wake up early in the morning. They don't feel compelled or have the drive to incorporate the health end, and they're sort of like, how do I juggle all this? How can someone like Annie or a coach who's dealing with top executives, how can they help them to kind of ramp this up and get the momentum going?
Yeah, that's a great question, Court. There's so much when it comes to, developing that. A lot of it has to do with mindset, but high performance in general is a journey. It's done with small bites over long periods of time. And, we're in that very high-paced society where, everything is immediate and we want this now. And it's like, okay, I read a book and now I'm a high performer. Great. Now what's next, right? It doesn't work like that, right? We all know this. But it's a systematic, it's strategic, and it's a methodical approach to being better than you were yesterday. And really, it starts with the basics. When we go through these performance strategy sessions with people, they want to go right in, like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. It's like, no, you're not. You're not going to do that.
Nice.
Actually, I want you to go 1 day a week. I want
Okay.
you to go for a half hour, and I want you to do bicep curls for, 3 sets of 15. Then I want you to get the hell out of it.
Small ball.
Yeah.
Start with small ball.
Yeah.
Like
Small,
you said,
right?
and sorry, I don't have to cut you off, but this is just
Yeah.
bring me back to an episode or two ago, the baby steps that you were talking about, Annie, like little baby steps. And
Well, it is. Aaron's right. I mean, look, I have a trainer, right? I didn't start that long ago, but my husband's like, yeah, I mean, this isn't enough twice a week. I need to do. And she's like, just trust me, we will get there because you're going to start at 5, 6 days a week and then you're going to fail or quit. And you're exactly right. Like, everybody's in a rush for everything. This is a journey. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint, right?
Yeah. And psychologically, when we do that to ourselves, like you said, your husband's like, no, I want to do 5, right? Well, you give him 1, and then he's like, when can I do 2? Right. And so,
Yeah.
with subconsciously, you're developing drive there. You're developing that person's drive to get 2 done, and you're developing the drive to get 3 done. Because if they go all in at 5, I'm telling you what, it's a short-lived
Exactly.
episode of the.
And to your, I just want to comment too, is like, I think it's important to find out, I don't know how you feel about this, Aaron, but to really get to the bottom of like what motivates someone. Some people are money motivated. Some people are health motivated. Some people are whatever. I have to uncover what motivates my clients, because you think everybody that sees me like can't wait to journal, or like, they're like, I mean, there's plenty of people that are like, Annie, like, I don't want to do that. And I tell them there's a method to my madness. Like, let me figure you out. Let's uncover, or, what do they say? Like, peel the onion, like strip down the onion. Let's peel the onion and let's look at the layers of you. And like, and if you're not motivated by something, why? Like, what's the roadblock, right? Like, so just to add on to what you were saying is, 1 day a week is super important. By the way, P.S. after the first day, we were so sore, we were not going 5 days a week. So that's number 2. But so he was like, yeah, I'm good for a couple days. And so was I, frankly, not just, he's going to listen to this probably and be like, I can't believe you said that. But yeah, so uncovering what's the roadblock, which is huge in coaching and mindfulness, and probably what all 3 of us do. Because it's like, what's stopping you? What is stopping you? It's usually something, like you said, mindset, something that happened. I tried this before. I've never been a high performer, right? Like, let's uncover, what that is.
And one of my favorite, what's my absolute favorite performance-based skills is discipline. just because I truly believe it is so important once you have it and once you know what it does for you. You can use it so much to your advantage in every aspect of life. But, when we look at people who are just starting out or like, if I had to say to somebody, hey, if you want to be high performing in your career, where would you start? A lot of people go like this, no idea.
Mhm.
Right? And so what we teach is basically, start at the most basic step, you know, because what we're trying to accomplish is to develop discipline within a action or a routine that quite honestly is often overlooked by people. Like let's talk about getting dressed in the morning. How about that for developing the discipline muscle? And people look at me going, what? Like, what do you mean?
Or mindfulness, right? Just take that routine of
Yes.
putting your clothes on to be mindful.
Yeah.
Just think about it, be
Yeah,
aware, right? Court, am
100%.
I learning?
Yes, but and that's
100% are.
perfect example. Like, yeah, listen, we all get dressed, right? We have outfits that we wear where we're like, yeah, I'm banging right now. Like, I'm
Today's
gonna
my
go out, I'm
day.
gonna get complimented. I know I look good, right? Right. And so what does that outfit do for you? It helps you exude confidence. It allows you to engage more with more confidence. It allows you to be a little bit more bold, right? Another performance-based skill. And so teaching people to pay attention to what they're wearing and not going out of the house in drab outfits or worn outfits or things that just don't fit right or don't feel comfortable. It's actually a phenomenon that was it was studied in Northwestern University by Adam Galinsky and Heyo Adam. And they found that it's called clothes cognition. And it's how our clothes make us feel, which is why we don't go to the gym in a suit, right? We put the gym clothes on. Athletes experience this a lot. When they're in the locker room, they're getting dressed, they're putting the pads on. They're mentally preparing
Fit.
the
The
battle.
fit.
Yeah, the fit,
It's
right?
important. The fit is important.
Oh, so important. So
I
like we teach that.
I this is landing for me. I with my three boys and how active and various sports they play. I mean, I just see them when they have like the headband and the
To
hair has to
drip.
be just so. And then like if it's baseball, they have the eye black, or in my 7-year-old's world, it's the eye rainbow. There's like every color. And then, like the way the shirt fits, and then if they have the leg sleeve, I mean, they walk onto the field or the court, and you can just tell
Yeah,
like
it's
their
different.
mindset, and they just feel it. And I do think that is what can be carried out in each of us, not the child, but like the adult in each of us. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that personal appearance. I get questioned a lot. They're like personal appearance. Like, isn't that kind of like,
Main.
yeah, that's a painful conversation to have with somebody. It's like, it's more about paying attention to how your clothes make you feel and how you're presenting yourself to the world. Because every
yeah.
day we're stepping onto a stage and it's the
Yep.
world stage. Everybody's looking at you. Everybody's, wants to know who you are and what you're going to do next. If you have that mindset, then you're a little more aware of what you're doing. You're a little bit more confident in how you're putting yourself out there.
Totally. Do either of you guys watch The Bear? Have you watched?
I don't,
Oh,
but
I
Al
have to
does.
though. Somebody told me to watch it. I
Oh,
think
it's
told you,
fabulous.
Annie.
I don't know, but there's a character in it, and he's kind of like, his name's Richie, and he's kind of like down and out, and he's like a real jlub. If anyone listens. Well, like, I don't know how else to say it except for like a Yiddish word, but like he's just, anyway, point being, he gets like this job, and he starts wearing suits every day. So to our entire point, he's like, I'm wearing this every day. It feels good. And he like is real handsome after being like, kind of, he's all clean, and it just totally changed the whole aspect of who he was. It's,
Yeah.
it can seem vain, but it's not, don't have to have designer stuff. It's just being put together, learning how to be put together, right? And so you can feel a certain way.
And what does that do to, Nalini Ambati coined the term thin slices and came up with perceptual judgment. And, our minds make a judgment on somebody within, 300 milliseconds. It's something crazy, that we're making judgments on. Can this person be effective for me? Are they a threat? Are they open? And imagine like how when you present yourself to the world, how important that is to new engagements. You know, that's something that we rarely pay attention to a lot of times. I mean, Court, you've been in law for forever, as long as I've known you. You walk into a courtroom, you know, what are you wearing? You're not
We're
wearing,
looking.
yeah,
No,
right?
I mean, it can make or break you. And having had the unique experience of working as a court crier, someone who works behind the scenes with the judge, and I get to work with the jury and hear their opinions, get their insight about the attorneys who try cases, you would be surprised. There could be the smartest, the sharpest, just the most brilliant litigator who his shirt is disheveled, they see a
No
stain on his
polish. No
tie,
polish.
whereas someone maybe on the other end, he didn't have the best expert. He did so litigating the case, but he was dressed meticulous. I mean, I remember a woman saying, he is fine. Like I don't think
Sharp.
she could get
Clean.
over, yeah, she couldn't get over just how great he looked in his suit. So it really does affect. It can take away from someone's intelligence, or it can add to the whole package. So I've seen it even just from the unique experience of having worked behind the scenes. But I guess sort of breaking in, going back to the legal field or the legal sector, and getting to work now from this mindfulness perspective with a lot of really stressed out attorneys. And Annie, she works coaching high executives and people who are doing amazing things in the sales industry. We both see how much stress and anxiety these top performers have to juggle. What are some of the obstacles that you think that, we've talked about a few of them, but what are some more of the top obstacles or hurdles that you see some of these people facing in their pursuit of high performance?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest obstacle is many don't know where to start. You know, they don't know that there's skills that they need to hone. They're not getting the feedback. Maybe their upbringing, wasn't the best. Maybe they didn't have good mentors. So we've always seen that as one of the biggest obstacles. It's like, how did you get out of the starting gate and where are you right now? But that's this whole thing is like why we developed this whole guide, to high performance. But as you begin to get into it, a lot of people, again, they bite off more than they can chew. They try too hard. They realize it's too hard, it's too difficult, and they stop and they go back to their old ways. And that's very sad in a lot of ways, because people do have potential. I believe everybody has potential. And when their potential is thwarted by a bad experience, or maybe they were a little messy trying something new, and they just didn't persevere through it, those are some of the major obstacles that people get stuck on. A lot of people too, we're seeing this, we're in this age where information is coming at us like light speed, right? And
Yeah.
just because we watch the video, usually it's a video, right? Let's break it down, or YouTube, TikTok, whatever it might be. And somebody's saying, hey, the human brain works like this. And if you do this, blah, 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 blah. And they go, yeah, got it, roger that. And then they don't do it. But they think and they feel that they're operating at that level because they've attained the knowledge. They're just not putting the boots in the ground. That's another obstacle. That's at the 6th stratum, by the way. That's when you've got all this knowledge. Now you got
What
to
do you do
try
with
it.
it? How do you apply it?
How do you apply it? And guess what? That first application, that's going to suck. It's going to be messy. You're not going to be good at it. You're going to screw it up somehow. But having your peers around you telling people, hey, I'm going to try to improve my composure skills. And here's the practice. Here's the practice I'm going to do. I'm going to try to improve my focus, and I'm using a mindfulness practice to do that. Letting people know that you're actually taking steps to do it helps you get through that obstacle, that really challenging obstacle.
I would imagine, Aaron, that what you do helps people become much less overwhelmed. When you look at the whole overarching thing of like, wow, I'm just not a high performer. Like I do everything wrong. Like maybe I'm this, but I'm not these other 10 things. Whereas you really break it down, it helps people to go, like you said, I'm gonna work on my executive presence this week. I'm gonna work on that. And it's baby steps, chunking it.
Yeah, 100%. And we have an assessment online that anybody can take, but
Oh, I want to take it.
yeah, part of this whole thing is like, what are the skills that are critical to your career, right? So yes, there's 45, and that can seem very, very overwhelming. 45 skills, oh my God. Is everybody great at all 45? No, no. You know, can you work on a majority of them? And as the rising tide raises all ships, that happens? Absolutely. But there are skills in every profession, in every role, that are critical to being high performing in that role or that profession. And so if you focus on those skills, you can really begin to take steps to becoming higher performing in your career.
Does the test actually say to you, like, you are in these categories, this is what you should do?
Yeah,
Like you're
so the first thing it does is, okay, what is your career? But the second thing is we've defined 9 attributes of high performers. And so it really relates, a lot of people think, oh, I'm not a high performer. I've never been told I was a high performer. I'm not
yeah.
whatever. Well, there are attributes. And when you take this assessment, it's a self-assessment. It's like where you think you are in the attainment of knowledge and application and mastery of a skill. And so once you take the assessment, it actually shows you what traits you most exude of high performers. And then you see these skills that relate to those traits. So you can really focus yourself in certain aspects of your life to be higher performing. Again, it's not just about career. We take a holistic approach here. And we studied the spectrum of human performance. And so it's about being high performing in life and your career.
I love that. I love that.
Do you want to laugh real quick? I'll tell like a really quick story.
I always want to laugh.
I took this, and this is totally exposing me, but I don't care. So I took this test one time. I'm like, just Aaron, like I'm good at a lot of things, right? But like I can't find my way to my car, like my direction and like spatial relations and stuff like that. Like Kevin can like view, he can look at the space and kind of go, I'll put this here, I'll put this here. And I'm like, I'll tell you if I like it when you're done. Like my brain just doesn't work like that, right? I have other strengths. So I had to take this test one time, and Keller Williams, like the real estate place, gave this test to me because I had a friend there, and she was like, it's really going to help you decide what you want to do next, right? Like, so it really breaks down, like, long story short, I take the test. Number one thing I should be is a motivational speaker. And the last thing I should be is an accountant. Meanwhile, I married an accountant, right? And she goes like this, she goes, and like, English, awesome. She goes, maybe we should stay away from the spatial relation. I was like, this test is spot on. She was like, don't be an test.
I guess the saying holds true, opposites attract. So
Right?
Absolutely.
He could do the spreadsheets and I'll motivationally speak.
Absolutely. It's funny that spatial relation thing. I read somewhere a while back, but it is a difference between men and women in spatial in spatial relation. Like
Some women can do it though. Like
some
you
women
mean
can absolutely, and some men are like horrible at
yeah,
like, when you put your GPS on your cars, are you facing north all the time?
please don't say like a direction. Like north is there to me. Like I swear to God, I'm smart. I have a master's degree. Like I just like when I leave the mall, like I cannot, thankfully I got a new car and it tells me from an app where it is. But like I don't remember, I'm doing stuff on my way out. I'm like ADHD, like I'm on the phone, I'm texting. No, I think I left Wawa the other day and I walked in the totally I'm like, I'm 45 years old, and if you have to guess to go left or right, it's always wrong. I always go left if you're supposed to go right.
I'm right there
There's
with you.
my exposing of my weaknesses.
That's fantastic.
All right, so I know we're getting to the end of this episode, but can you share with us a recent success story of someone who you were working with and you just really admire the growth and you've seen some progression, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't name names, but
Yeah.
I can tell you there's been many. And it's been really powerful for me because, when you put something out there, to help others, I'm a big acknowledgement guy. I mean, you don't have to give me money. You don't have to give me a bar of gold. You tell me I did a good job or I did something
Your
that
love
changed.
language, Aaron, is words of affirmation, right?
Man, yeah, yeah, big time. Oh my God, big time. Um, and so, I've gotten a lot of feedback. In the book, it tells you to form this PPAU, this peer-to-peer accountability unit. And some young professionals formed their own unit and then gave me this feedback. And, they were like, I had social anxiety. And, I learned how to be more, how to present myself. I learned how to be more confident in my engagements and how to put myself out there. Another one was having some problems, not really problems, but challenges with communicating with his parents. And he was able to understand, like, okay, where he was failing in that communication and how to use empathy and open-mindedness to his advantage in order to gain, better perspective on what they were
Love
feeling
that.
and how he
Yeah.
was putting himself out there. And then, I mean, professional, right? We've had so many success stories in people getting promoted, in hitting sales goals, in being leaders of their team, becoming a manager, and really getting people to buy into them, and they're going, wow, like I can do this and I
Do
can make
this.
an impact. So yeah, there's been some really nice feedback coming in, and it's definitely appreciated.
Look, Aaron, you know what I love about what you do? It's there's such a focus on the person. It's not what's your title, what school have you gone, like what how many degrees do you have, what's your IQ? It's so much more about who you are and how to apply knowing who you are to real life and how to make that person into a high performer, right? Like it's
Absolutely.
so overlaps with what we do and just the importance of the person
Yeah.
versus take this test and it'll tell you how good you are at spatial relations. It's like
No judgment, Annie. We're not judging.
no, I don't know. The last thing I do is judge myself. No, but no, I do judge myself. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool, Aaron, what you've done here
Yeah.
because my favorite part is how real it is and how it makes it about the person because we don't do that enough in the professional world.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are making a tremendous impact with what you're doing too. I mean, bringing mindfulness to the forefront is so important, especially this day and age when there's so much stress and there's so much data that can really, twist us in 17 different directions. And it's so important to our performance. Mindfulness and being able to be in tune with who we are and what we're thinking and how we're controlling our emotions, and then being able to use it, as a strategy to focus better, to have more patience throughout the day,
Present.
be present and be composed. I mean, man, you guys are doing some great work, and I appreciate what you guys are doing too.
Likewise, likewise. And it's fun to join forces and see how we can, really improve what each of us are offering and together how it can be so impactful in somebody's life, both in the professional world as well as the personal world. So, well, big question here. If somebody wants to learn more about you, maybe find out more about your story, but even more importantly, if they want to get involved and find out more about 9th Stratum, how's best to go about that?
Yeah, well, the book's online. It's on Amazon. You can find it, 9th Stratum Guide to High Performance. And then also we have a website and a mobile app. So the website is stratum-9, and it's NINE.com. And the mobile app can be found on Android or Apple or iOS. Mobile app's in its infancy, so we're just gaining more feedback. We're doing some beta tests, but it's growing as we speak. So yeah, those are the couple ways, and you can always hit me up on LinkedIn.
Super. And lastly, if a business owner really likes what they're hearing and they want to bring this into the workplace and try to implement this program with their teams, how would they go about that? Would they also go to your website, or is there another way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can contact me directly through LinkedIn, or they can go to the website and hit the contact us button. But we're doing these performance strategy sessions, and it's a whole program that we're live. We're going in. It's me and my business partner Kelly Johnson, and we have everything that they need to really define, measure, and then implement high performance into their business culture and in their lives.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, I have to say, I'm so proud of you, just seeing where you've come from, what you've grown, what you have that's going to continue to grow, I'm sure of, and to have you be a part of this podcast. So thank you so much for your time. We're wishing you the best of luck and look forward to continuing to see what unfolds.
And what
Yeah.
we can learn from you. I don't know you for 30 years, but it's been really fun getting to know you. And what you're doing is amazing. And I'm glad people are hearing about it.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. This was awesome. And keep doing what you're doing too. I love the content. I love what you guys are putting out there. I'm following it, and it's just awesome. So great work out of you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.